Why are you so convinced that you need to tell everybody about who Jesus is? Why do you feel it necessary that you need to tell everybody about everything Jesus do in your life? Because there's a time in the book of Mark, the messianic secretive gospel, where Jesus did not permit people to speak about him, where people were not permitted to speak about who Jesus was, to speak about the great works that he did, right? So why do you feel it necessary today? Why do you feel it's so necessary to tell people about your testimony? Did Jesus always permit testimony? There were times when he didn't permit testimony, and that's what I want to show you today. But the question is, why not? The Bible says that he also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak. Why? Because they knew who he was. If somebody knew who you was, why wouldn't you permit them to speak about you? Could it be that you're trying to hide something that you don't want the public to know about yourself, that you would not allow this person to speak? Now, in Mark 1:34, this is in Mark 1:34, Jesus did not permit an unclean spirit to speak about him because they knew. The demons knew who he was. If they knew who he was, why wouldn't Jesus want people to know he was the Christ? So think about that. Every time you feel compelled that you need to tell the world about Jesus, think about the times when he didn't permit that. Think about the times where Jesus didn't allow that. So just because you're able to do that, does that mean that Jesus accept that? Does he accept your testimony, right? Because there were times where he didn't permit it. This is in Mark 1:43 and 44. The Bible says, Jesus sent the former leper away at once with a strong warning. With a strong warning. He says, see that you don't tell this to anyone. Now, he just healed a man. And if Jesus is omniscient, then he should know that this man gonna go tell everybody. So why would you even tell after you just did a miracle? Why would you tell a man that you know will go tell everybody else? Why would you even do the healing on if you already know that they're gonna go tell everybody? Why would you even do it? So he told, that's what makes it look even worse, because he told the man don't go tell nobody, and he went and told everybody. So why would you do the healing if you know that? You see what I'm saying? So Jesus did not permit a man to testify, to give his testimony about how he was healed. And these people go to church every Sunday and they get up and they talk about what Jesus did for them, what they think Jesus did for them. And they knocking on people's doors and they standing on the corner preaching about what Jesus did and who he is, according to what's written, right? But how do you know Jesus accepts that if he didn't always permit that? The Bible says in Mark 5:51-42, Jesus took her by the hand and said to her, Talitha koum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately the girl stood up. Think about this. Jesus just resurrected a girl. This is possibly the greatest miracle that you probably could do to somebody. Well, I wouldn't say that it's the greatest miracle, because how you're doing a disservice to people by resurrecting them into the same situation. So now they got to die again. Like when he brought Lazarus back, Lazarus had to die again. So you bringing people back into a world under the same conditions that you never changed. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you're going to tell the people not to go tell nobody what you did. that you resurrected them. It's crazy, bro. It's madness that you will resurrect somebody back into the same situation that they was before they died. That's a side note. So he says, immediately the girl stood up. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this. One of the greatest miracles he ever did. In fact, the Bible ends in the book of John. It says these signs were written, they were recorded so that you would know that he is the Christ. So if they wanted the world to know that, why didn't Jesus want everybody to know that when he did what he was doing? The Bible says in Mark 7:35-36, at this the man's ears was open, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly. But Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone. So what's up with this secret? Why is all this secretive stuff going on with Jesus? If he's the Messiah and everybody should be expecting a Messiah to come, and the disciples knew who he was right off the bat. Well, they said that we have found the Christ, right? They say that they found the Christ, yet they still didn't know who he was when he asked them, who do they say he is? They told us they found the Christ, the Messiah. So if everybody had this big expectation, oh, I get it. They expected the Messiah to actually do something. Because what did Jesus do to actually change their conditions? Why didn't Jesus change that? So Jesus told Judas, he asked Peter, who do you say I am? Peter says, you are the Messiah. Jesus warned them not to tell anybody about him. He didn't want nobody to know that he was the Messiah. Now, I want you to notice that in Mark 1:34, the demons confessed that Jesus was the Son of God. Well, the Bible says he drove out many demons, but he would not let them speak because they knew who he was, right? But Peter says, so he told the unclean spirit, he didn't permit them to speak because they knew who he was, but then he didn't allow Peter to speak about who he was, right? So the thing I wanted to point out is the unclean spirits, they knew who Jesus was before the disciples can get it right. The unclean spirits got it right off the bat. They weren't confused about who he was. He never had to ask the unclean spirits who he was, who they thought he was. They knew right off the bat. But the disciples, they always wrestled with who he really was. Mark 9:30 says they left that place and passed through Galilee, and Jesus did not want anyone to know that they were there. So it's just a lot of secretive things going on with Jesus in the book of Mark that we should pay attention to. And how does this secretive Messiah, what does this secret Messiah mean to you today that want everybody to know about this Jesus? Maybe what everybody needs to know today is that he moved secretly. He moved quietly. You know what I'm saying? Quiet as kept.
You believe what you can show, or just believe from what you know? What make a book holy if God never wrote it? Imagine God was just misquoted. If God was